I met my wife 3 years ago, we got married 9 months ago, we have a baby boy together that she got pregnant with while we were engaged. My wife used to be a sex worker, no judgment on that please. She did what she had to do to survive. My parents were always being skeptical about her and lot of times asked if I want to settle down with her. When she got pregnant, they went nuts and demanded a DNA test. They refused to attend the wedding till the DNA test was done, which caused a huge problem. They ended up missing the wedding obviously. The test was done because my wife wanted to prove a point and eventually my parents made amends and we reconciled. They started visiting and yesterday noticed the photo of the DNA test that I hang in the living room. They asked about it and I told that it serves as a reminder for why they didn't attend my wedding. They were stunned and livid when I mentioned that I tell any guest the same thing I told them. Mom and Dad were mad and asked me repeatedly to take it down, saying I'm being too harsh on them and refusing to let go of the past as well as embarrassing them to the other family members. I refused to take it down and I admit being sarcastic in my response, saying, it goes with the Hoy's decor. My brother thinks it's petty and childish and said I should take it down. Alright, I'm editing some stuff in. First of all, my wife does not mind having the photo up. She laughs about it sometimes, but she's still carrying some hurt that was caused by what happened. And second of all, no, she no longer does sex work, it's all in the past. And did I mention that my brother and I aren't close? He's known as the crackhead in the family. So that's that. I'm part of a large friends group, late 20s to early 30s, the majority of the time. We hang out at my place, the launch pad. My place was chosen because I have a pool, an apartment pool. I'm not that fancy, it's pretty central, and it has the biggest kitchen, so it's where we usually decide to do the group's cooking. I would say that usually 8 to 12 people come to most things, and the core group is maybe like 20 of us. All dating back to college. There are a few people in the group I don't get along that well with. But whatever, they're part of the group. I still invite them. However, last night, Saturday night, something weird happened. One of the people who doesn't like me much, Jordan, was acting like a space case and wasn't responding to anything I said. It actually led to him burning the group's nachos because he ignored my directions to take them out of the oven. The fire alarm went off and everything. I found out through another group member that Jordan decided he is not going to acknowledge my existence anymore because he doesn't like me. To be clear, Jordan and I have never had any kind of argument or fight. I asked Jordan if this was the case and he wouldn't even respond. This man had the gall to come to my home as my guest, cook food in my kitchen, nearly cause a fire, and then refuse to speak to me. I told Jordan to get out of my apartment if he wasn't willing to speak to me in my own home. Jordan, to his credit, complied and left immediately, grinning smugly like a Cheshire cat after filling my place with burnt nacho smoke. Jordan's good friend Amber, who isn't my biggest fan either, apparently, said I was being a controlling bitch and also left with him. I also booted Jordan out of the Launchpad group chat, which has sparked a serious controversy amongst my friends because it's where all the group planning for my place takes place. Anyway, it's escalated, and the group is split. Half of our friends seem to think it's fine that I removed Jordan, both IRL from my house and from the Launchpad chat, because he was at my house and refusing to even interact. The other half think that Jordan is a long-standing group member and I should just put up with him ignoring me and continue to invite him even if he doesn't like me because he's been part of the group a long time and he didn't choose my house as the home base. So I'm wondering, am I the asshole for booting someone that won't speak to me from my own house when I'm the central hub for our friends? I have two friends, Dee and Tommy. We've known each other since middle school and make a point to make time to keep in touch and eat out at least once a month, but often twice. We live a 40-minute drive apart, but it's worth it to keep the friendship alive. This died down during the pandemic, but we're back at it semi-regularly again. I am single, aromantic. They've never made me feel like a third. Well, this isn't a date I'm invading, it's decompression time for friends to have a nice meal and maybe a few drinks. After the pandemic, Dee never went back to working. They both seem to be okay with this and she enjoys the housemaking life. That's their thing, not my problem. The problem is that when the bill comes, Tommy asks for it to be split 2 ways, or it will just be split that way because only 2 of us walked up to the pay counter. First few times I shrugged it off. Half of her meal comes to less than $7 and I usually have a singular beer while they have soda, so my portion is probably $2 to $3 higher anyways. It all came to a head this weekend when we went to a nicer place that just opened in the area. At $50-ish a head, I couldn't help but speak up when he tried to tell the waitress to split the bill 2 ways. I did the math at the table and just what I had came up to $67, a third of the total bill was $71. I told him I'd either pay a third even though it's more than my portion or just go Dutch. I didn't care either way since it was close. He was absolutely appalled, told me it was embarrassing that I had done all this in front of Dee knowing that she wasn't working, and made a snide remark about how I make more than him anyways. To his snide remark I said something I maybe shouldn't have, about the fact that I'm not the one who married her, so why should I subsidize her unless she's coming home with me half the time. I paid my portion and left. Now he's texting me incessantly about how I embarrassed the fuck out of him in front of his wife and I should have been a man about the situation and split the bill between the men like is proper to do. The more I think back, the more I realize this has happened since college. Too, he and I would split the cost for pizza and she would come eat too. Am I in the bad here for settling the bill in front of her? She's known me just as long as he has. Maybe I should have just paid it then and settled it later. Thanksgiving is right around the corner and my wife and I are making plans to host our family. I'm doing the bulk of the cooking, including a rib roast. I'm excited, since it's one of my favorite dishes and I much prefer it to turkey. We've been fortunate this year to be able to afford a good one. I plan on cooking it to a medium rare temperature since that's what I and most people in general prefer. And, objectively, it's juicier and more tender that way. My wife is annoyed by this and says I should make it medium well or well done. Since her and her parents don't like it bloody, that's not blood but whatever. I told her that they can eat the end slices, which tend to be more cooked than the bulk of the roast. And if that's still too bloody, they can nuke their piece after it's cut. I think this makes perfect sense. Obviously, if I were making steaks, each one could be made to the preferred doneness of each person. But this is one expensive piece of meat, and I don't want to ruin all of it when the solution is clear. You can always cook a piece more. You can't uncook it. My wife says I am, and that this is my way of imposing my pretentious preferences onto everyone at Thanksgiving.